Lauren realized her mistake the moment she walked through the door. The club looked legitimate from the outside upscale entrance, velvet ropes, professionally dressed doorman. The kind of place that required connections but not necessarily danger. Her friend Natalie had given her the address, said it was the new hotspot, told her to just mention Natalie's name and they'd let her in. Natalie Chen sent me, Lauren had said to the doorman. He'd looked at her strangely but stepped aside. Go ahead. Inside was different. The music was good, the decor expensive, but the atmosphere felt wrong. Everyone moved with careful awareness, like they were constantly assessing threats. The bartenders served drinks with military precision. The security wasn't just watching, they were calculating. This wasn't a normal club. This was something else. Lauren pulled out her phone to text Natalie wrong address. When a man approached, large, professional, clearly security. Who let you in? Not aggressive, but definitely not friendly. The doorman. I'm meeting someone. A lie. But better than admitting she'd wandered in by mistake. Who? Lauren's mind raced. She couldn't give Natalie's name again, that had already caused confusion. I'm actually just leaving. Wrong place. You can't just leave, you've seen inside. We need to verify who you are first. Fear spiked through her chest. Verify? I'm just a woman who walked into the wrong club. I haven't seen anything worth verifying. That's not your decision to make. The security guard gestured toward the back. Come with me. Boss wants to talk to anyone who shouldn't be here. I'm not going anywhere until you tell me what's happening. Miss, you can walk with me calmly, or I can make this less pleasant. Your choice. Lauren looked around. Every eye in the club was on her now. The music continued. But the atmosphere had shifted. She was the anomaly. The unexpected element that needed addressing. She could scream, make a scene, try to run. But the exits were monitored, and making this confrontation public might make things worse. Fine. I'll talk to your boss. But I'm calling someone if I'm not out in 10 minutes. You do that. He led her through the club, past VIP sections where people watched with calculating interest, to a private area in the back. The office door was heavy, expensive, designed to keep sound in and people out. Inside, a man sat behind a desk, reviewing something on a tablet. He looked up when they entered, and Lauren's breath caught. He was younger than she expected, mid-30s maybe, dark hair, sharp features that belonged in fashion magazines rather than ... wherever this was. He wore a suit that probably cost more than her rent, and his dark eyes assessed her with uncomfortable precision. Who's this? He asked the security guard. Walked in off the street, said Natalie Chen sent her. When I questioned her, she claimed she was leaving. Seemed confused about where she was. The man's attention focused entirely on Lauren. Natalie Chen, how do you know her? College roommate. She gave me this address. Said it was a new club. I thought I was meeting her here. Natalie Chen doesn't have access to this club. Never has. Then she gave me the wrong address. Can I leave now? Not yet. He gestured to the security guard. Check if there's a Natalie Chen on our radar. Any connection to our operations. After the guard left, the man leaned back and studied Lauren. What's your name? Lauren Harris. And what do you do, Lauren Harris? I'm a data analyst. Completely boring job, normal life. I just wanted a night out and apparently got the address wrong. That's it. You're not afraid. I'm terrified. But I'm also not stupid. Fear makes you act irrationally. I'd rather stay calm and figure out how to leave safely. Something like amusement flickered across his face. Smart. Most people who accidentally wander into my club either panic or try to fight. You're doing neither. Because neither would work. Panicking makes me vulnerable. Fighting makes me a threat. Staying calm and reasonable gives me the best chance of walking out of here. Very smart. He stood and walked around the desk. Up close, he was taller than Lauren expected, moving with controlled grace. I'm Sebastian Volkov. This is my club. And you're absolutely correct. You've walked into somewhere you shouldn't be. Lauren's stomach dropped. Volkov. She knew that name. Everyone in the city knew that name. You're Mafia Boss Sebastian Volkov. She said it without thinking. adrenaline overriding her filter. Alleged Mafia Boss. But yes, that's me. He seemed amused rather than offended. And you've just walked into a club that serves as a primary meeting location for my organization. Which presents us both with a problem. What kind of problem? The kind where you've seen faces, overheard conversations, gained access to a location we prefer to keep private. That makes you a potential security risk. I haven't seen anything. I was inside for maybe 5 minutes before your guard approached me. I don't know anyone here, don't recognize anyone, couldn't identify anyone if I tried. Maybe true, maybe not. How do I verify that? I don't know. But keeping me here against my will isn't going to convince me you're not dangerous. Let me leave, and I'll forget this place exists. I have no reason to tell anyone about a club I accidentally wandered into. Sebastian considered this. You argue your case well. Logical, composed under pressure. That's unusual. I work with data and patterns. Logic is kind of my thing. The security guard returned. No Natalie Chun with any connection to us. But there is a Natalie Chun who works at Morrison Analytics, same company as this one. He gestured to Lauren. Sebastian's expression shifted slightly. You work at Morrison Analytics? Yes. Senior data analyst. Interesting. I've considered working with Morrison. You do financial analysis, correct? Among other things, yes. And you're good at it? I wouldn't be senior analyst if I wasn't. Sebastian pulled out his phone, made a call. Marcus, I need verification on Lauren Harris, senior analyst at Morrison Analytics. Background, employment history, any red flags, fast. He hung up and looked at Lauren. We're going to verify your story. If you are who you say you are, just an analyst who got lost, you can leave. But if there's anything suspicious, anything suggesting you're not here by accident, this conversation becomes very different. There's nothing suspicious. I'm exactly who I say I am. We'll see. They waited in tense silence for 10 minutes. Lauren tried to steady her breathing while Sebastian watched her with that unsettling assessment. Finally, his phone rang. He answered, listened, nodded, confirmed. All right, thanks. He looked at Lauren. You check out. Lauren Harris, 29, senior analyst at Morrison, no criminal record, no connections to any organizations I'd consider problematic. You appear to be exactly what you claim, someone who got lost. Can I leave now? In a moment, I'm curious about something. When Marcus approached you, you didn't panic. When I told you who I was, you didn't try to run or make a scene. Why? Because panic doesn't solve problems. And making a scene in a place controlled by you would only make things worse. You've thought about this? About how to handle dangerous situations. I'm a woman who lives alone in a city. I've thought about a lot of dangerous scenarios. This one just happens to be more unusual than most. Sebastian smiled, genuinely smiled, and it transformed his entire face. You're remarkable. Most people lose their composure when they realize where they are. You're having a logical conversation. Would you prefer I scream and cry? No, I prefer this. It's refreshing. He moved toward the door. Come on. I'll escort you out myself. You don't have to. I insist. Marcus was too aggressive initially. The least I can do is ensure you leave safely and understand that tonight was a misunderstanding, not a threat. They walked back through the club together. Lauren was hyper-aware of every eye tracking their movement. People whispered, clearly surprised their boss was personally escorting someone out. They're confused, Sebastian said quietly. I don't usually walk people out. I either let security handle them or handle them differently. Should I be honored or concerned? Honored. Definitely honored. At the entrance, Sebastian stopped. Lauren Harris, I'm sorry you wandered into my club. But I'm not sorry I met you. That's an odd thing to say to someone you just interrogated. Is it? You're intelligent, composed under pressure, and apparently very good at your job. Those are qualities I value. Are you recruiting me? Not yet. But I'm considering it. He pulled out a business card and handed it to her. If you ever want challenging work that actually uses your analytical skills properly, call me. Lauren took the card, not sure what to do with it. You're offering me a job. I'm offering you an opportunity. Morrison Analytics is good, but they underutilize talent. You're clearly capable of more. More illegal activities, you mean. More interesting activities. Legal status is negotiable. Lauren should have walked away. Should have taken this escape opportunity and never looked back. But something made her pause. Why me? You don't know anything about my work. I know you handled an extremely stressful situation with remarkable composure. I know you're senior analyst at a respected firm at 29, which means you're either very talented or very connected. And I know you're not intimidated by me, which is rare and valuable. I'm definitely intimidated by you. But you're not showing it. That's the same thing in my world. He opened the club door. Think about it. No pressure. But if you want work that challenges you, that card has my direct number. Lauren stepped outside, the cool night air hitting her face. She turned back to look at Sebastian, still standing in the doorway. This was the strangest evening of my life, she said. Mine too. And I've had some very strange evenings. He smiled. Good night, Lauren Harris. Good night, Sebastian Volkov. She walked away, very aware of his eyes following her until she turned the corner. Only then did she let herself process what had just happened. She'd accidentally walked into a mafia-controlled club, been interrogated by the boss himself, and walked away with a job offer. Lauren looked at the business card in her hand. Simple, elegant, just a name and number. She should throw it away. Should forget this happened. Should definitely not call that number. Instead, she tucked it carefully into her wallet and went home, her mind spinning with questions about the man who'd let her walk away when he easily could have made her disappear. Lauren lasted 3 days before calling the number. She told herself it was curiosity. Professional interest in what kind of work someone like Sebastian would offer. Definitely not because she couldn't stop thinking about dark eyes and controlled danger. This is Sebastian. His voice was the same deep calm, carrying authority, even over the phone. It's Lauren Harris. We met. I know who you are, Lauren. I was hoping you'd call. You were? You impressed me. I don't get impressed often. She heard him moving, probably switching locations. Have you thought about my offer? I don't even know what the offer is. You mentioned challenging work and negotiable legal status. That's not exactly a detailed job description, because I wanted you to call and ask for details, which you did. So, dinner? Tonight? I'll explain everything properly. That's very presumptuous, but you're considering it. Otherwise you wouldn't have called. He was right, which was annoying. Where? I'll send a car. 7 p.m. Wear something nice but comfortable. We're going somewhere that requires certain appearances, but I want you to actually enjoy yourself. You're very used to people doing what you want. I am. But with you, I'm asking rather than telling. There's a difference. Lauren should have said no. Should have ended this before it became something complicated. Okay, 7 p.m. But I'm not committing to anything beyond dinner. I wouldn't expect you to. See you tonight, Lauren. The car arrived at exactly 7. Not ostentatiously expensive, but nice. The driver was professional, polite, and completely uncommunicative about where they were going. They drove to a restaurant Lauren had heard of but never entered, the kind of place where reservations required connections and money. Sebastian was waiting at a private table in the back. You came, he said, standing as she approached. You seemed confident I would. Hopeful. There's a difference. He gestured to the seat across from him. Thank you for taking a chance on a crime boss's dinner invitation. Alleged crime boss. Sebastian smiled. You've been reading about me. Of course I have. You offered me a job. I did my research. Multiple investigations, 0 convictions, allegations of everything from money laundering to racketeering. You're either very good at your job or very lucky. Very good. Luck is for amateurs. They ordered, and Sebastian explained his offer. I run several legitimate businesses that need sophisticated financial analysis. Property management, import companies, investment funds, all completely legal, properly documented. I need someone who can optimize operations, identify inefficiencies, spot patterns others miss. That sounds like normal consulting work. It is. With one complication, the legitimate businesses exist alongside less legitimate operations. I keep them completely separate. But knowing they exist means you'd be working with full knowledge of what I am. You want me to analyze your legal businesses while ignoring your illegal ones? I want you to analyze the legal ones without worrying about the illegal ones. Clean separation. Clear boundaries. You'd never touch anything remotely questionable. Why me? You could hire any financial analyst. Sebastian leaned forward. Because you think clearly under pressure. Because you're not intimidated by complexity. Because you saw my world and instead of running away, you called to learn more. That's the kind of person I need, someone who embraces complicated reality instead of demanding simple fiction. That's quite an assessment from one tense conversation. I'm good at reading people. It's how I've survived this long. They talked for 2 hours. Sebastian was surprisingly easy to talk to, intelligent, asking thoughtful questions about her work, actually listening to her answers. He talked about his businesses with genuine passion, showing her the legitimate operations were more than just fronts. What happened to Natalie Chen? Lauren asked suddenly. My friend who gave me the wrong address? Nothing. She gave you the right address for a different club, one that opened last month 3 blocks from mine. She wasn't trying to send you into danger, just got the locations confused. You checked? Of course I checked. I needed to know if your presence was accidental or engineered. It was accidental. And if it had been engineered? Then we'd be having a very different conversation. He sipped his wine. But it wasn't. You're just someone who got lost and handled it better than anyone I've ever seen. You keep saying that. I wasn't that composed. You were composed enough. Most people dissolve when they realize they're in real danger. You assessed the situation, made rational choices, argued your case logically. That's remarkable, Lauren. Trust me on that. After dinner, Sebastian's driver took her home. But before she got out, Sebastian said, think about it. The offer is real. You'd be paid well, work on genuinely challenging projects, and you'd be working with someone who appreciates your skills. And I'd be working for a crime boss. For a businessman who also happens to run other operations you'd never touch. Separate worlds, Lauren. I'm good at keeping them separate. I need time to think. Take all the time you need. But Lauren, I hope you say yes. I think we could work very well together. She went inside, her mind spinning. Everything about this was wrong. The man, the offer, the obvious danger. But it was also the most interesting thing that had happened to her in years. If you're listening to this story, the narration seems to whisper through Lauren's growing temptation. And you want to know what happens when walking into the wrong door becomes walking into the right person. When danger transforms into intrigue. When Mafia Boss Sebastian's controlled world meets a woman who refuses to be controlled. Subscribe to the channel. Because sometimes courage isn't about not being afraid. It's about staying logical when fear would be easier. And sometimes the most dangerous man becomes the most interesting possibility. Lauren made her decision 2 weeks later. She couldn't stop thinking about Sebastian's offer. The challenge, the money, the strange pull she felt toward a man who should terrify her. She called the number. I'll do it. On one condition. Name it. Complete transparency. If at any point I discover you've involved me in something illegal, even peripherally, I walk away. No arguments, no consequences. Agreed. You'll work exclusively on legitimate operations. And Lauren? Thank you. I think this is going to be a very productive partnership. She started consulting for Sebastian's businesses 3 days later. The work was exactly what he promised: challenging financial analysis, complex corporate structures, optimization problems that required real expertise. And he was right about underutilization. At Morrison, she'd been constrained by corporate bureaucracy and risk-averse management. With Sebastian, she had freedom to implement actual solutions. You've saved my real estate division $600,000 in the first month, Sebastian said during a review meeting. How? Property managers were operating on inefficient systems. I streamlined operations, renegotiated vendor contracts, identified duplicate services. Basic optimization. But no one had bothered to analyze the full picture before. Basic optimization that no one else spotted. That's talent, Lauren. They fell into a professional rhythm, Lauren analyzing businesses, Sebastian implementing her recommendations. Always professional, always appropriate. But something else was building underneath. Lingering looks across conference tables. Conversations that stretched beyond business into personal territory. Tension neither acknowledged but both felt. "We should have dinner," Sebastian said after one particularly long analysis session. "Not business, just dinner. That's probably not a good idea. Probably not. But I'm asking anyway." Lauren knew she should refuse. Should maintain professional boundaries with the crime boss who employed her. "Okay. But nowhere connected to your work. Somewhere normal. I can do normal." He took her to a small Italian restaurant, family-owned, unpretentious, nothing that screamed danger or wealth. They ate pasta and talked about everything except work. "Why do you do it?" Lauren asked. "Run an organization that operates outside the law when you could succeed just as easily doing everything legitimately?" "Because the legitimate world isn't as clean as people pretend. I deal in honest crime rather than dishonest legality. At least in my world, people know where they stand." "That's a very cynical view. It's a realistic one. I've seen enough supposedly legitimate businesses destroy lives through technically legal means. At least in organized crime, we're honest about what we're doing." "You really believe that?" "I do. Doesn't make me good, but it makes me honest about being bad. That counts for something." They talked for hours, the restaurant emptying around them until they were the last customers. Finally, reluctantly, they acknowledged they should leave. "Thank you," Lauren said as they walked to his car. "For dinner. For being surprisingly normal." "Thank you for giving me a chance to be normal." Sebastian stopped, looked at her seriously. "Lauren, I need to tell you something. Okay. I'm attracted to you. Have been since you walked into my club and refused to be intimidated. I know that complicates our professional relationship. I know it's probably inappropriate given our power dynamic. But I wanted you to know." Lauren's heart raced. "Sebastian, you don't have to respond. I just needed to be honest about it. Because that's what we do, right? Honest complications instead of comfortable lies." "I'm attracted to you too," Lauren admitted. "Which is insane because you're a crime boss and my employer and I should definitely not be saying this. But you are saying it. Because you're right about honest complications being better than lies." They stood on the street, both aware they were crossing a line that couldn't be uncrossed. "What do we do about this?" Sebastian asked. "I don't know. Dating your employer is complicated enough. Dating your crime boss employer is something else entirely. We could ignore it." "Stay strictly professional. Could you do that?" "Probably not. Could you?" "No." Sebastian moved closer. "Then maybe we stop pretending we can ignore this. See where it goes. Navigate the complications as they come." "That's a terrible idea. Most of my best ideas are terrible initially." Lauren laughed despite the tension. "You're impossible. I'm persistent. There's a difference." He kissed her gentle, questioning, giving her every opportunity to pull away. Lauren kissed him back, making her choice clear. When they pulled apart, both were breathing hard. "This is going to complicate everything," Lauren said. "I know, but I think it's worth it." "You think, or you know?" "I know you." Lauren thought about it honestly. About the complications, the danger, the impossible situation she was walking into. "I know too," she admitted. And with that, everything changed. They tried to keep it professional. Lasted approximately 3 days. "This isn't working," Sebastian said during what was supposed to be a business meeting. "I can't focus on property acquisitions when all I'm thinking about is kissing you. We're in your office, with people right outside. Then let's leave. Go somewhere we can actually talk without pretending this is just business." They went to his apartment, the same penthouse where Lauren had once feared being interrogated, now feeling less like a crime boss's lair and more like someone's actual home. "This is dangerous," Lauren said, standing in his living room. "Us, together like this, I know. But I'm tired of pretending I don't want you here. Your people are going to have opinions. Let them. You're not just some woman I'm seeing. You're someone I value professionally and personally. They can handle that complexity. Over the next months, they built something real. Lauren continued analyzing Sebastian's legitimate businesses while their personal relationship deepened. They navigated the complicated space between professional and intimate, employer and partner. "People are talking," Sebastian's CFO mentioned one day. "About you and Lauren. Let them talk. She's talented, doing excellent work, and what happens outside the office is personal. They're concerned about divided loyalties. Whether she's really qualified or just sleeping with the boss." Sebastian's expression hardened. "She saved us millions in operational efficiency. Generated more value in 6 months than the previous analyst did in 3 years. Anyone who questions her qualifications can come discuss it with me directly." The CFO backed off quickly, but the whispers continued. "Does it bother you?" Lauren asked when Sebastian told her about it. "Does what bother me?" "People thinking I'm only here because of our relationship. No, because I know the truth. You're here because you're exceptional at what you do. Our relationship is separate from your professional value, but others don't see it that way. Then they're wrong. And eventually, your work will prove them wrong." Lauren threw herself into analysis, determined to demonstrate her value beyond any relationship with Sebastian. She optimized logistics chains, identified hidden costs, restructured financial arrangements that saved substantial money. "You're making yourself indispensable," Sebastian observed one evening. "That's the goal. Harder to dismiss as the boss's girlfriend if I'm essential to operations. You were already essential. Now you're irreplaceable." Their relationship deepened. Lauren started spending most nights at Sebastian's penthouse. They'd have dinner together, talk about their days, build something that felt remarkably normal despite the extraordinary circumstances. "I love you," Sebastian said one evening, the words coming without preamble. Lauren looked up from her book, surprised. "What?" "I love you. I probably shouldn't. It's complicated and dangerous and makes me vulnerable in ways I've avoided for years. But I do. I love you, Lauren. You're not supposed to fall in love with your employee. You're not just my employee. You're my partner in business and in life, and I love you." Complications and all. Lauren set down her book and moved closer. "I love you too. Even though you're a crime boss who made me fall for him by being unexpectedly decent." Alleged crime. "Boss. Right, alleged." They laughed, and the tension broke into something warm and real. But loving Sebastian came with costs. The FBI started watching Lauren more closely. Her friends questioned her choices. Her parents were horrified when they learned who she was dating. "He's dangerous, Lauren," her mother said over the phone. "You're throwing your life away for a criminal. He's more than that. He's intelligent, thoughtful, trying to operate with ethics in an unethical space. That's rationalization. That's reality. The world isn't divided into good people and bad people. Mom, it's more complicated than that." Despite external pressure, Lauren and Sebastian built something solid. They learned each other's rhythms, supported each other through difficulties, became partners in every sense. "You've changed me," Sebastian admitted one night. "Made me want things I'd given up on. Stability, partnership, something beyond just survival and control. You've changed me too. Made me braver. Made me question assumptions about morality and legality and where real ethics actually exist. Is that good or bad?" "Good. Definitely good. I'm better for knowing you. Even with all the complications?" "Especially with the complications. They make us real." 1 year after Lauren walked into the wrong club, reality came crashing down. A rival organization, new, aggressive, not respecting established boundaries, started pushing into Sebastian's territory. Operations were disrupted, people were threatened, and violence became increasingly likely. "I need to handle this," Sebastian told Lauren. "Which means things are going to get dangerous. I want you somewhere safe until this stabilizes. I'm not leaving you." "Lauren, this isn't a negotiation." "You're right, it's not." "Because I'm not asking permission. I'm telling you. I'm staying." Sebastian looked torn between gratitude and fear. "If something happens to you because of my world, then we handle it together. But I'm not running when things get difficult." The conflict escalated quickly. Sebastian's organization responded to incursions. The rival group pushed back harder. And suddenly Lauren was living in a world where security wasn't optional and danger was constant. "I hate this," Sebastian said one evening, exhausted from crisis management. "I hate that loving me puts you at risk. I hate it too. But not enough to leave." 3 weeks into the conflict, someone tried to grab Lauren off the street. Professional grab, 2 men, coordinated approach, clear kidnapping attempt. Marcus stopped them. Sebastian's security had been shadowing Lauren constantly, and when the attempt happened, they intervened immediately. "They wanted leverage," Marcus explained afterward. "Grab you. Force boss to negotiate from weakness." "Are they okay?" Lauren asked, surprising everyone. "The kidnappers?" "They're alive. Detained. Boss is questioning them now about who sent them." When Sebastian came home that night, he looked hollow. "I'm so sorry. This is exactly what I was afraid of." "I'm okay." Marcus stopped them. "Your security worked. This time. But what about next time? How many times can we get lucky before?" He stopped, couldn't finish the thought. Lauren pulled him close. "Then we make sure there is no next time. We end this threat definitively." "You're talking about war. I'm talking about eliminating people who tried to kidnap me. That's not war. That's consequence." Sebastian looked at her with something like awe. "You're serious." "Completely. They made this personal when they came after me." "End it, Sebastian." Decisively. The response was swift and overwhelming. Sebastian's organization moved against the rival group with such force that within 2 weeks, they'd either fled the city or been absorbed into more established operations. "It's over," Sebastian told Lauren. "They won't try again." "How do you know?" "Because I made the cost of trying again prohibitively expensive. They understand consequences now." Despite the victory, the kidnapping attempt haunted Lauren. She'd been vulnerable, targetable, used as leverage. It was one thing to intellectually understand the dangers of Sebastian's world. It was another to experience them directly. "Talk to me," Sebastian said one evening, finding her staring out at the city. "What are you thinking?" "That I was naive. I knew intellectually that being with you came with risks. But experiencing actual danger is different from knowing it exists. Does it change things?" "U.S. No. But it makes me understand better what you carry. The constant calculation of threats. The weight of protecting people. It's exhausting, isn't it? Every single day. But having you makes it bearable. Makes it worth the exhaustion." They held each other, both understanding that they'd survived a real test. Not just the external threat, but the internal question of whether Lauren could handle the reality of Sebastian's world. She could. She had. And she was still choosing him. "I love you," Lauren said quietly. "Even knowing what loving you costs. Even after being almost kidnapped. I love you. I love you too. More than I can articulate." 2 years after Lauren walked into Sebastian's club by mistake, he asked her to marry him. Not romantically. Not with careful planning. Just over breakfast one morning. "Marry me." Lauren looked up from her coffee. "What?" "Marry me. I'm terrible at romance and worse at waiting. I want to spend my life with you, want to make this official in every way possible." "Marry me, Lauren." "That's the worst proposal I've ever heard. Is it working?" "Unfortunately, yes." Sebastian pulled out a ring. Apparently he had been planning this. Just chose the least romantic moment possible to execute. "I bought this 6 months ago. Kept waiting for the perfect moment. Then realized perfect moments don't exist in my world. Only honest ones. So here's my honest moment. I love you more than I thought I could love anyone. I want you to be my wife, my partner, my everything. Marry me." "You're absolutely terrible at this. I know. Is that a yes?" "It's a yes." They married 3 months later. Small ceremony. Sebastian's trusted people. Lauren's closest friends who'd stuck with her despite her complicated choices, and Emma, who remained skeptical but supportive. "You're marrying a crime boss," Emma whispered before the ceremony. "Last chance to run?" "Alleged crime boss. And I'm not running." "I figured. But I had to offer." The ceremony was beautiful in its simplicity. No grand production, just two people making promises they both intended to keep. I promise to be honest with you, Sebastian said during their vows. To protect you with everything I have. To love you even when it's complicated. To be your partner in everything. I promise to see all of you, Lauren responded. The darkness and the light. To challenge you when you need it. To support you always. To choose complicated truth over simple lies. They kissed, and Lauren felt something settle into place. They were official now partners in every sense, committed despite all logic. Mrs. Volkov, Sebastian said that evening, how does it feel? Strange. Good. Terrifying. All of it. Same. They honeymooned in Italy, 2 weeks of pretending to be normal tourists, eating incredible food, seeing beautiful places, existing without constant security concerns. I could get used to this, Lauren said one evening over wine in Florence. Being married or being away from work? Both. But especially being married. To you. Even knowing what it means? Being married to someone like me? Especially because of what it means. I chose you knowing exactly who you are. That makes this real in ways other relationships never could be. They returned home to reality, Sebastian's operations, Lauren's analysis work, the constant navigation of their complicated world. But they returned as a solid unit, facing everything together. Thank you, Sebastian said one evening. For what? For walking into my club that night. For not running away when you discovered what I was. For choosing me despite every logical reason not to. For being my wife. Thank you for escorting me out instead of making me disappear. For being honest about your world. For loving me enough to let me see all of it. For being my husband. They held each other, both understanding how unlikely their entire story was. A wrong door. A crime boss's curiosity. A connection that defied logic. And somehow, it had become love. 3 years into their marriage, the FBI investigation opened. Not into Sebastian directly, they tried that before and failed. This time, they went after everyone connected to him, building a RICO case through the network rather than the center. They're questioning everyone, Sebastian's lawyer explained. Employees, associates, family members. And they'll want to talk to Lauren. She's protected by spousal privilege, Sebastian said immediately. Only for private communications. Her work for your businesses isn't protected. They can question her about financial analysis, operational structures, anything professional. Lauren was subpoenaed 2 weeks later. Federal grand jury, testimony under oath, questions designed to implicate Sebastian in money laundering and organized crime. Tell the truth about your work, Sebastian's lawyer coached her. You've only worked on legitimate businesses. You've never touched anything illegal. That's accurate, and it's your testimony. And if they imply I'm lying, let them imply. Truth is truth, regardless of their skepticism. The testimony was brutal. 3 hours of aggressive questioning. Prosecutors implying she was complicit in crimes, suggesting she'd helped hide illegal activities. Lauren held firm. I analyzed legitimate business operations. Financial optimization, cost reduction, operational efficiency. Nothing illegal. That's the truth. You expect us to believe you work for Sebastian Volkov and have no knowledge of illegal activities? I expect you to accept that complex people can run both legal and illegal operations with complete separation. I work exclusively on the legal side. Whether illegal operations exist is beyond my knowledge or concern. It was technically true. Sebastian had been meticulous about keeping Lauren away from anything even remotely questionable. She worked exclusively on businesses that were completely legitimate, properly documented, paying all applicable taxes. The prosecutors couldn't shake her testimony. She left the courthouse shaking but satisfied she'd given them nothing useful. Sebastian was waiting outside. How bad? Unpleasant but survivable. I didn't lie. Didn't give them anything they could use. He pulled her close. Right there on the courthouse steps. Thank you. For staying strong. For not breaking under pressure. I told you I wouldn't. When are you going to believe me? I believe you. But experiencing it is different from hearing the promise. The investigation dragged on for 18 months. Lauren was questioned 3 more times. Always maintaining the same testimony, she worked on legitimate operations, knew nothing about illegal activities, couldn't provide evidence about crimes that existed outside her professional scope. Eventually, the case stalled. Without Lauren's cooperation, without evidence connecting Sebastian's legitimate businesses to illegal operations, the prosecutors couldn't build their RICO case. Charges dismissed. The lawyer informed them. They don't have enough to prosecute. Lauren felt exhausted relief. It's over. For now, they'll try again eventually. But this case is done. That night, Sebastian held Lauren close. I put you through hell. Federal investigation, aggressive questioning, constant pressure. And I survived it. We survived it. Because you're stronger than anyone I've ever met. Because we're stronger together than either of us is alone. They'd survived another test. Another attempt to destroy what they'd built. And they emerged intact. Together. 5 years after Lauren walked into the wrong club, they decided to start planning for something beyond just survival. I want to transition out, Sebastian said one evening. Not immediately. Not all at once. But gradually move toward legitimate operations only. You want to retire? I want to evolve. Become primarily a businessman who happens to have a complicated past, rather than a crime boss who runs some legal businesses. Is that possible? For you? I think anything's possible if you want it badly enough. They began the careful process of Sebastian's transition. Establishing clear succession for the illegal operations. Moving more resources into legitimate businesses. Gradually reducing direct involvement in organized crime. This will take years, Sebastian's advisors warned. And it creates vulnerability during the transition. Then we manage the vulnerability carefully. But I'm doing this. For me. For us. For the future we want. Lauren supported the transition completely, using her analytical skills to help structure the changes in ways that minimize disruption and maximize stability. You're good at this, Sebastian observed. Organizational transition planning. I'm good at seeing patterns and planning accordingly. Turns out that applies to criminal organizations same as legitimate businesses. 3 years into the transition, Sebastian was primarily running legitimate operations. The illegal side still existed. Someone had to manage it. But Sebastian was essentially retired from direct involvement. How does it feel? Lauren asked one evening. Strange, lighter, like I've been holding my breath for 20 years and I'm finally exhaling. He pulled her close. And it's only possible because of you. Because you gave me reason to want something different. You gave yourself reason. I just supported the choice. You're being modest. You changed everything, Lauren. My whole life trajectory shifted when you walked into my club. Best wrong door I ever walked through. Best mistake I ever witnessed. They'd built something impossible, a relationship that started with a wrong turn and evolved into real partnership. From accidental intrusion to federal investigation to legitimate business evolution. What now? Lauren asked. Now that you're mostly legitimate. Now we figure out what normal looks like for us, travel maybe. Start a family if you want. Actually live instead of just surviving. All of that sounds perfect. 7 years after their meeting, Lauren became pregnant. Planned, wanted, terrifying and exciting in equal measure. We're going to be terrible at this, Sebastian said, looking at the positive test. We survived federal investigations and territorial wars. We can handle a baby. That's a very optimistic assessment. I'm allowed to be optimistic. We've earned it. Their daughter was born on a spring morning, healthy, loud, absolutely perfect. She has your eyes, Lauren said, exhausted but happy. She has your stubborn chin. We're in trouble. They laughed, both understanding that this was the culmination of 7 years of impossible choices and unlikely survival. From wrong club to marriage to family. Against all logic, it had worked. Sebastian, tall, 6'3", thick slightly wavy dark brown hair kept short at the sides, piercing almost black eyes with a cold edge, warm olive to tan skin tone. Sharp masculine features with a permanent hint of danger. Athletic build with broad shoulders. Usually dressed in dark tailored suits that amplify his intimidating presence. Posture calm, yet unmistakably dominant. 10 years after Lauren walked into the wrong club, She stood in that same entrance, now completely renovated and operating as a legitimate venue. "Strange being back here," she told Sebastian. "Strange how things change. This was where I ran organization meetings. Now it's a place where people have birthday parties." Their daughter Elena ran ahead of them, excited to see the place her parents always talked about. "This is where you met?" she asked. "This is where I walked through the wrong door," Lauren confirmed. "And your father decided not to have me thrown out. Because you were interesting," Sebastian added. "Still are." Elena rolled her eyes, 8 years old and already skeptical of her parents' romance. "That's a weird way to meet. We're weird people," Lauren said. "You'll understand when you're older." The club, now called The Refuge, was hosting a charity event for children's hospitals. Sebastian's foundation, the one he'd established during his transition away from organized crime, was the primary donor. "From crime boss to philanthropist," Lauren observed. "That's quite an evolution. From accidental intruder to my wife and business partner." "Yours is more impressive." They watched Elena play with other children, both reflecting on the unlikely journey that had brought them here. "Any regrets?" Sebastian asked. "About walking through that door? Never. You? About not throwing you out immediately?" "Never." He pulled her close. "Best decision I made was being curious about the woman who wasn't afraid of me. Best decision I made was calling that number on your business card." Emma approached, still skeptical after 10 years, but accepted that Lauren had found something real with Sebastian. "Your weird love story is still going strong," she observed. 10 years and counting," Lauren confirmed. "I still think you're insane. But you're happy. So I'm happy for you." After the event, Sebastian and Lauren walked through the empty club, remembering. "This room," Sebastian said, stopping at what used to be his office. "This is where I interrogated you. And decided I was worth not making disappear. Best interrogation I ever conducted." They laughed, comfortable with the strangeness of their origin story. 10 years. From wrong door to federal investigation to legitimate business to family. They'd survived everything that tried to destroy them. "Thank you," Sebastian said quietly. "For what?" "For walking through that door. For being brave enough to call me. For choosing complicated truth over simple safety. For being my partner in everything. Thank you for being curious. For being honest about your world. For evolving when you could have stayed static. For being worth every complicated choice." They stood in the empty club where everything had started, holding each other, both understanding how unlikely and precious their story was. A wrong door. A crime boss's curiosity. A woman's courage. And somehow, impossibly, it had become love. The best kind of love, built on honest complications, tested by real dangers, surviving through genuine partnership. "Ready to go home?" Sebastian asked. "Always. With you, always." They left the refuge together, walking toward their car where Elena waited, building the normal life they'd fought so hard to create. Sometimes the best stories start with mistakes. Sometimes walking through the wrong door leads you exactly where you need to be. And sometimes, the most dangerous person becomes the safest place you've ever known. When Lauren walked through the wrong door, she expected to find a club. Instead, she found Mafia Boss Sebastian, a man who could have made her disappear but chose to be intrigued instead. He escorted her to safety when he could have eliminated the threat. She called him when logic said to run. And together they built something impossible from a dangerous mistake. Because sometimes courage isn't about not being afraid, it's about staying logical when fear would be easier. Sometimes the wrong door is exactly right. And sometimes the man who interrogates you becomes the man who loves you most honestly.